Alright, so welcome back, and today in this video we are going to talk about the Honor 8C. Now Huawei's sub-brand Honor has been very aggressive in India lately with numerous smartphone launches across multiple price segments. Like literally no matter what kind of a budget you have, they have some or the other sort of offering for every different budget segments. And what makes this smartphone kind of interesting is that the Honor 8C comes literally like 6 months after its own predecessor, the Honor 7C, which might loosely sound like it's just a minor upgrade, but the fact that this is the first smartphone that uses the Snapdragon 632 SoC, which already speaks a lot in volumes. Now, if you just run through the specs, it is very comparable to its competition. There is nothing in leaps and bounds in technology that makes it stand apart. But the fact that I have used it extensively for over 3 weeks and I have some really good things to say. Now, just a little spoiler, I have been very satisfied with the smartphone, especially the battery life. It just never ever dies on me. And speaking of specifics, it comes with a 4000 mAh battery, a 6.26-inch TFT HD Plus display with 4GB of RAM, and it comes in two different storage variants. The 32GB model comes at 10,999 rupees, and the 64GB model, the one that we have today, it comes at 12,999. And if you are on a tight budget and looking to cut corners, then you can go for the 32GB model. It also has a separate micro SD card slot, which can take up 256GB micro SD card for additional storage. Now, speaking of build quality, the back of this smartphone is entirely constructed out of plastic, which feels like a downgrade from its own predecessor, the Honor 7C, which had a metal backplate. But regardless, due to this plastic build, it is kind of a fingerprint magnet. I won't say it is hugely fingerprint magnet like my OnePlus 6, but it does attract fingerprints every once in a while, and that makes it kind of slippery at times. But if you are worried about that, Honor actually includes a free TPU case along with the box, so you can just slap that on the phone and it kind of does the job. And speaking of box content, along with that, you also get a 10-watt charger and a micro USB cable. And yes, it's 2019 and Honor is still on micro USB instead of USB Type-C, which is currently the standard. Now, it could be a good or a bad thing depending upon what kind of cables you are currently using on a whole. But regardless, Honor does include a micro USB cable along with that, so that shouldn't be much of an issue for you. Now, the thing with this plastic back is that if you can see a little bit of reflections, you'll see that Honor has tried to replicate the glass back gradient effect that you generally see with the higher end, more expensive Honor devices like the Honor 10. But sadly, this plastic bag doesn't really gives off that premium feel. But again, it doesn't really looks bad either. It's like comparing real Shah Rukh Khan with the budget version of Shah Rukh Khan, if that makes any sense. But also, if you have a different perspective, this plastic build isn't really a bad thing. I mean, it also makes this phone a lot lighter compared to just my OnePlus 6, which is like probably 2 times heavier than this phone. And even though it has like 4000 mAh battery, it still feels a lot lighter in hand. Now, the best thing about this phone is that it comes with 2 nano SIM card slot along with 1 micro SD card slot, which you can use to expand your storage up to 256GB using a micro SD card, which generally is not present in its own competition segment, which leaves you juggling between either dual SIM option or a single SIM and a micro SD card option, and that is not the case over here. Now, I quickly want to talk about another thing that I really liked about this phone is the 4000 mAh battery and Honor's battery optimization on top of it. It's pretty much like black magic where you just cannot kill this phone in one single day. So my extensive usage includes like 45 minutes to an hour of PUBG, more than 20 to 30 calls per day, and these are like 15 to 20 minutes on an average. And then there are some calls which like go beyond an hour, so it depends upon the situation. And I've been checking my Facebook and Instagram all day long, and that's like the real world scenario usage. And on a much more controlled environment, it lasted 14 hours and 30 minutes on a HD video battery loop test. Whew. And now let's talk about performance. And I kind of have a mixed bag feeling about it, considering the fact that it is a budget smartphone. In day-to-day usage, the performance is very snappy. Most of the time, I never really had any issues. The 4 GB RAM feels very adequate with day-to-day usage. The Snapdragon 632 processor is based on a 14 nanometer chipset, so that is another reason why this phone is so power efficient. But that also means that it has an amazing heat dissipation quality. This phone just never really gets hot. But the fact is the performance is still average. Games like PUBG and Asphalt 9 does have a little bit of stuttering issue. I mean, like in PUBG, you cannot even set it to max frame rate or max resolution. So that's a kind of a bummer in the first place. And Asphalt 9, it does really stutter a lot while playing, so it's not the most smoothest gameplay that you will find. And overall, if you're doing something intensive and something that demands a lot of performance and power, it starts to fall apart. Now, the HD plus TFT display is something that I particularly don't have any problem with. I wish it had a 1080p display instead, but again, this is something that you won't really notice with your naked eye unless you are comparing it to another phone side by side. And indoors, the brightness is really good. I mean, I never really had any problems again, but outdoors under bright sunlight, like I'm talking about 12 noon, it kind of feels like the screen is a little bit dim. Now, the face unlock or the facial recognition on this phone is again very accurate and is very snappy, and also it works in low light as well. It just bumps up the screen brightness to light up your face as usual, but again, it works really well. I never really had any problem. But what works much better is the fingerprint sensor. I mean, it is one of the most fastest fingerprint sensor I have ever used. Now, the fact is you have two-way unlock and you can use any way you want to. So I feel like you can use the face unlock for most of the cases, just in case maybe if you break your face, you have a backup. So yeah, that's a nice thing. In terms of software, it comes with EMUI 8.2 on top of Android Oreo. The fact is, I have used a lot of Honor devices in the past, so this is nothing new for me. But the fact is, this is one of the most cleanest UI that you can get. There is no app drawer, so that is... and everything that you get is on your home screen, kind of like iOS or MIUI, the basic deal, you get it. But again, it is one of the most cleanest UI that I have ever used. Now, coming to the camera, it has a 13 megapixel rear camera with an f-stop of f1.8. Along with that, you also get a 2 megapixel depth sensor for all the portrait mode and depth sensing and things along that nature. You get the idea. But if you take a closer look, you'll see that there is AI camera printed over it. I feel like it's nothing but more of a marketing gimmick. It's just a software add-on to the camera application. It just identifies anything that is in your frame, anything you are shooting. And what it does is basically it just bumps up the exposure and saturation ever so slightly just to make the photo pop out. You can also do that in Snapseed. It's basically the same thing. But yeah, you have the option. I generally keep it off because I mean, like, I like my photos to be more natural, but that doesn't really take away the fact that this is a damn good camera. I mean, the colors that comes out of it, the sharpness, the detail, the contrast, everything is pretty much on point under decent light. But I don't know what happens under low light. It's just pretty much not usable. You just don't want to take this camera out if you are in a low light situation. And the same thing goes with the front camera. It's nothing too amazing. It's just like a potato camera. If you have to use it, you can use it. Now let's come to the verdict of our comprehensive review of the Honor 8C. I feel like this smartphone was supposed to wear a lot of hats, but in order to become an all-rounder, Honor has delivered a mediocre performance phone with a lot of potentials. I mean, like, it can do a lot of good things, but it doesn't do anything perfectly. It's like jack of all trades, but master of none. So, does that mean that this is a phone that you should completely avoid? Not at all. I mean, one of the best pros that I really like about this phone is the 4000 mAh battery, and if battery life is your thing, then you shouldn't even look anywhere else, because I feel like this has got the best battery and the best optimization over it, which makes it one of the best long-lasting phone that I have personally used and tested in a long time. And also the fact that it has a damn good camera, which works really amazing in decent lighting, and the phone feels really light. It is very thin, and I mean, overall it is a really good phone, just minus the high-end performance. But if you really want a phone that can perform really well, you can look at some other alternatives from Honor, like the Honor 8X or the Honor Play. Both of them comes with a powerful Kirin processor, which is going to suffice your performance needs. And with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, do give this video a huge thumbs up. And also, if you have any questions about this product, do let me know in the comment section down below. I'll be answering all of your questions down there. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, do make sure to click on that subscribe button. I'm going to make more videos as such on technology, photography, and smartphones and things along that nature. So again, if you don't want to miss out on that content, make sure to click subscribe. And I know I'm rambling a lot, so I'm just going to ta-da.